am weird. I thought they'd like it. So I have no regret.
Hello everyone, today we are talking about Welcome to Plathville, Season 5, Episodes 7 and 8. Let's go ahead and get started. So the show starts out in Minnesota where Olivia and Ethan live, and we see Olivia go into a bar and ask if she can shadow one of the bartenders. Olivia really wants to have something to do to earn some extra cash, meet new people, and she says that she likes mixology. So it seems like this is going to be a good fit for her. Olivia mentions during this part of the show that she has spent a lot of time with her life revolving around the Plath family since she married Ethan, and she is ready to move on from that. And Olivia also mentions that her and Ethan aren't spending as much time together. She justifies it by saying that they're just in a new place and doing new things. But you know what? This is a pretty big contrast from how they were when they first moved there. If you go back just a few episodes ago, Olivia and Ethan seemed really happy to be there in Minnesota, spending time together and living alone without other people. So it looked like their relationship was doing so well, but here at the beginning of episode 7, it sounds like they're spending more and more time apart. Now, Olivia is fine with that. She says that she likes to do things independently, so she doesn't mind, but she does make a point of saying that from the outside looking in, people might actually question the quality of their relationship. After this, the show goes back to Georgia, and we see Kim and Isaac are getting together to talk about turning the farm into a wedding venue. It sounds like they have a lot of work to do there, and Isaac is actually going to help and be able to do some of it. So this is the time where Kim wants to talk to Isaac about the fact that she is dating Ken, the guy that Isaac co-owns the plane with.
To an extent.
Yeah, well, so I've been dating Ken.
Okay.
That you used to work with.
That would make sense.
Isaac says he wasn't surprised. He had his own suspicions that Kim and Ken were dating. And really, it seems like he's okay with it. He doesn't say a lot. He just says that it's awkward. Isaac does ask Kim if Barry knows, and Kim tells him yes. And during a confessional, Isaac says that it is sad. You know, it's sad that his mom is moving on and dating, and it's awkward, but he doesn't seem really, really upset. If he is not showing it out, when he's being filmed. The part of it that is interesting to me, though, is, she was worried, Kim was worried how Isaac would feel about her dating Ken, but honestly, I think it helped a little bit. I think it helped that his mom was dating someone he knew and someone he liked. And I don't know. I just think it helped. It was sort of like a cushion. You know what I mean? Like hearing his mom was moving on, but then hearing it was someone he knew, I think it actually helped out. Isaac says that he appreciates that Kim considered his feelings and, was worried about what he would think, but he just, at the end of the day, wants to see his mom happy. After this, the show switches back to Minnesota, and we see Olivia and Ethan putting up their Christmas tree. Olivia shares that Lydia Grace, her sister, and her boyfriend, so Lydia Grace's boyfriend, CJ, are flying in for a visit. I want to put in a clip of CJ talking about Olivia's family, so I'm going to do that here.
Everyone that I've met in Lydia's family has been difficult, to put it in a nice way.
I just wanted to put that in because I feel like when you're watching a show like this, where it's parents and children and siblings, they have this dynamic that just exists for their family. And then to hear someone from the outside who's coming into it say, you know what, they really are difficult. I don't know. It's just an insight that I think is helpful when you're watching the show. So CJ actually says that they are difficult people, and it sort of confirms what Olivia has said. So CJ is wondering what it's going to be like to meet Olivia based on, the experiences he has had with her parents and her other siblings. But Lydia Grace is wondering what it's going to be like to spend more time with Ethan. And I want to put in here a clip of Olivia talking about Ethan and how Ethan is when it comes to people.
Ethan's not the biggest fan of people in general.
I don't know. Relationships are hard.
Ethan finishes that by saying, I barely make this one work. And he's talking about his marriage. You know, I think this is just one of those things. I think Ethan leans toward being an introvert, and it makes him come off a bit standoffish when he's with other people. And I also think he has a really unusual personality. I feel that way a lot about the kids in the Plath family and the Plath parents here, Barry and Kim. There's just something that's a bit unusual about them. It's not bad. I enjoy the show, and I think they would probably be nice to sit down and talk to, but it's clear they're just unique people. And if you have never witnessed him and his unique personality, I think you can go back and watch this episode and watch the part where they play two truths and a lie. He's just had some unique life experiences that most of us haven't had, being raised the way he did. And I think some of it is just some quirkiness there. After that, we see Kim and Ken go out on a date. Ken wasn't what I expected. You guys need to let me know in the comments if you were surprised. And I can't even put my finger on what it was. It might just be because she went from Barry to Ken and they seem so different. But something surprised me about Ken and his personality. I don't know. We didn't see a whole lot of him, but there was just something that seemed different than what I expected, and I don't know what it was. But anyway, Kim and Ken go out and they have a nice dinner together. Kim does mention that Isaac really likes Ken, and that makes her feel better about dating. And I agree. It's nice that one of the kids can say, you know, this is a nice guy that mom is dating. I think that's going to help a lot when she is telling them that she's ready to start seeing other people. Ken says that he thinks really highly of Isaac, and he was worried that Isaac was going to be upset. And he's surprised that, you know, Isaac was really okay with it. Ken and Kim have a conversation during dinner, and they decide to finally give each other the boyfriend-girlfriend titles. And that's really all there is to it. Kim seems really happy. After this, the show goes to the Plath home. It is the first time we're seeing Barry in this episode. Barry talks about finding out that Kim was dating and how the divorce is affecting him. He says that sometimes he feels anger and sadness, but he knows it's not healthy to hold on to that. He says he's just trying to focus now on building healthy relationships with the kids. Honestly, I am impressed with how well Barry is doing. I talked about it in the last video I made about Welcome to Plathville. He seems to almost be doing better now. And yes, I said that like it was a question because I'm not really sure. I feel weird about saying that. I feel weird saying that Barry is doing better after a divorce from his wife of 25 years, but it just feels like Kim and Barry have changed. You guys let me know what you think about that in the comments. After this, the show takes us over to Micah in LA. He is going to be going snowboarding for Christmas. He says that the Plaths don't really celebrate most holidays, so there's no reason to go home. Micah ends up FaceTiming with Mariah, and she shows off a new tattoo she has on her arm. And then Micah asks Mariah if she has talked to Ethan. She says no, she still has Ethan blocked. But during this part of the show, she talks about her relationship with Ethan, and I was really surprised by something she brought up. Mariah says that Ethan bullied her a lot as a kid, and she is now finding her own voice. I didn't expect her to talk about Ethan like that. I understand that they don't get along now, but I assume they had a pretty good childhood together with normal, disagreements that siblings may have. I'm surprised to hear her really say she was bullied. I don't know what line had to be crossed for her to talk about Ethan that way. It might be something where I saw it and was like, oh, that's just how siblings are. But then she's saying it's bullying. And I don't really know what that line is for her. When does it go from normal sibling behavior over to something that's unhealthy? I don't know. But Mariah says she is finding her own voice, and she says she doesn't have to be treated that way anymore.
He definitely was the one that bullied me the most. But I'm finding my voice. Like, these things are not okay. You cannot treat me like this.
I just thought I would throw in a clip there so you could hear her talking about it. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments. I mean, I think it's always okay for someone to set up a boundary and say, hey, I don't like how you're treating me. But I wonder, kind of looking back in the past, how it actually was between the two of them, and how much of what is going on now is influencing her view of how their childhoods really were. I will say the next scene sort of supports what Mariah is saying. The show takes us over to Minnesota. Olivia, Ethan, Lydia, Grace, and CJ are heading out for a day of sledding, and it is a really snowy day. While they are driving there, Ethan begins doing donuts as he's driving. You know, that can be a lot of fun to do in the snow, but this ends up leading to an argument when Olivia and Ethan are talking about it during a confessional later. Olivia says that she didn't enjoy it. She didn't like it. She does not like being in a car where she feels like she is out of control because she has had past experiences where she has been in some really bad car accidents. So she is talking during the confessional. She says all of that. And then Ethan responds by saying, you know, I think you're just being too sensitive. It's only 30 seconds. And then Olivia says that he is gaslighting her and being disrespectful. They don't have the same view of what happened here. So this is them during the confessional talking, what I just told you there. But they're also, you know, they're not getting along as it is actually occurring. While they're all in this SUV and doing donuts, Olivia is saying she just wants to get out. She doesn't want to be in the SUV anymore. She wants to get out. She's not liking it. And CJ, Lydia's boyfriend, says it got really awkward in the car because Ethan and Olivia were not getting along. So it was clearly very tense when it was occurring, and it is tense when they are talking about it later. Now, they end up doing a confessional, or they end up having a moment where Lydia Grace talks about it, and she says she feels really torn. She knows Olivia has been in car accidents, and she understands why Olivia might feel uncomfortable, and she thinks Ethan probably should have stopped. But on the other hand, she understands that Ethan probably didn't realize how serious it was and was just having fun. So you got two sides to it there. I think Ethan should have stopped. I think he could have said, hey, I want to do some donuts. Is that okay? Sometimes a warning can go a long way. Sometimes telling someone this is what I want to do or this is what I'm about to do actually gives someone a little bit of power. They prepare themselves and they can respond like, hey, it's okay. I think maybe talking to her first might have actually helped her feel more comfortable. And when she said, hey, that's too much, he should have stopped. I think it all could have went down without the problems that they seem to have. And here's the thing. I know a lot of people are rooting for Olivia and Ethan to work out. I honestly, like, if they do, that's great. I just think they are so different. They grew up the same, but they have really different personalities. I don't know. I hope they don't end up staying together a really long time because they feel like they can't get divorced. It's okay if it's not working. You know, I think they felt a lot of pressure to make a commitment when they were really young. Anyway, that is where this episode ends. You guys can let me know what you thought of what happened. Let's go ahead and jump into episode 8. Episode 8 starts out at a Christmas tree farm with Kim and some of the Plath children. She says the kids have never done anything like this before. They've never went down and cut down a Christmas tree because the Plaths didn't celebrate Christmas. And she is ready to start some new traditions now that she is not with Barry. It reminds me a lot of Christine over on Sister Wives. You know, she's not with Cody and now she's celebrating Easter. Now, Kim says that her beliefs about Christmas haven't actually changed. Like, she doesn't believe that December 25th is actually Jesus's birthday. But she wants to do this just for fun. So even though this isn't what her faith tells her to do, it is still something that will be fun for her family and a new tradition for them. And honestly, it looks like they had a great time looking for a tree and cutting it down. They end up finding this really, really big tree. And they take it home kind of hoping that it's going to fit in Kim's apartment. At the end of it, Kim says it was a great day, but in the back of her mind the whole time, she is worrying about telling the kids that she is dating Ken. Kim says that she thinks Lydia is going to be the one that will take it the hardest.
I think Lydia has an idea of how a marriage is supposed to be and how a relationship is supposed to be, and it no longer fits that mold.
And those beliefs come from Kim and Barry, so Kim and Barry need to be the ones to help her work through things. And yes, that includes Barry. Even though he's not the one dating, he's still a part of it. And he needs to help her work through what's happening in her life. They're the parents. They need to help Lydia. After this, the show takes us to Minnesota for Christmas. Lydia Grace, Olivia, CJ, and Ethan end up swapping gifts, and Olivia decides to give CJ a prank gift. I'm going to leave out the details and keep it kind of simple. It's an adult toy. I don't want to get in trouble here on YouTube, so if you want to know any more, you can go and watch the episode. The reason she does it is because Lydia Grace has told her that CJ has the same type of humor that Ethan does. So Olivia thinks this is going to be really funny. However, it doesn't seem to go as planned. No one was upset, but I don't think it was as funny as Olivia and Lydia Grace thought it was going to be. And Ethan actually seems to think it went a little too far. He says he doesn't think you should give a gift like this to anyone in your family except your spouse. He thought it was kind of weird, which I think is funny coming from Ethan, because there's a lot of times I think Ethan is kind of weird. So it was kind of funny hearing him say that. After the gift exchange, Lydia Grace plays the violin and Olivia plays the piano. Ethan says he misses spending time with his own family, even though he is enjoying how the morning is going. It really is nice with the music playing and the gift giving. And Ethan goes over and he starts making some pancakes. And this is when Ethan decides to play a prank of his own. He adds chicken seasoning into one of the pancakes. It's, you know what, this is the type of immature humor that I just don't understand, but I know there are definitely a lot of people that think this sort of thing is funny. So Olivia ends up being the one who eats the pancake, and they all sort of laugh about it. So it ends up being a nice Christmas morning for them. After this, the show takes us to Georgia, where we see Kim and the Plath kids putting the Christmas tree up in her apartment. The ceilings are high in her apartment, but not quite high enough. So the tree ends up sort of, it stands up straight, but then the top is kind of pushed over. So they end up having to trim the tree, but they have another issue, and that is the stand will not actually support the tree itself. So they attach it to the wall. It's a really cute scene. This is one of those things where I think they're just making a lot of memories. Like, these kids will talk about this forever, like the tree not fitting and it falling over when the stand wouldn't support it. Those are the type of things you talk about every Christmas. I have memories from my own childhood when we would put a tree up and it just wouldn't stand up, or it was too big. Those are the things people remember for years and years. After this, the show goes over to Micah. He is going snowboarding on Christmas, and he said Christmas sort of just crept up on him, so he didn't actually make any plans. He decided to go snowboarding since he would be spending the day alone. He said growing up they didn't celebrate Christmas, but now that he's an adult, he can decide, and he doesn't actually see anything wrong with gift giving. But on this Christmas, Micah is just going to head out snowboarding by himself, and he's driving there. But as he approaches, he sees a lot of cars on the side of the road. It looks like at this point the road is closed, so Micah is just going to have to sit and wait. And he decides to give Ethan a call, but Ethan doesn't answer. Micah says Ethan never answers the phone, which doesn't surprise me. He decides then to call Barry because Barry is home alone. Now, here's the thing to remember. It's Christmas and Barry's alone, but it's not really that sad because to Barry, it's not a day he celebrates, so it's just like a normal day. It's just going to be quiet in his house. So he's just at home eating a sandwich when Micah gives him a call, and honestly, they just have a normal chit chat, like, hey, what are you doing? Have you talked to Ethan? Just like normal stuff. There's nothing to even note. Nothing important happened during the phone call. We just see Barry and Micah both on Christmas. Eventually, the road opens up and Micah gets to go snowboarding. After that, we go back to Minnesota and see Ethan and CJ head to a cigar lounge. The two of them talk about Lydia Grace and Olivia. Ethan says at one point Lydia Grace and Olivia had had a rough patch. And this is where Ethan says something that I didn't like. He's talking about Lydia Grace and how she may influence Olivia. I'm going to put the clip in here.
I guess I'd be lying if I said that I didn't have any concerns about Lydia's influence on Olivia. Time will tell.
I don't think Lydia Grace is going to be able to influence Olivia to do anything that Olivia wasn't already thinking of doing. And also, Olivia's an adult. You know what? She can choose who influences her life and make her own decisions. But if Ethan is worried that Lydia Grace is going to affect their marriage, he shouldn't worry about it. He should worry about his marriage. That's my perspective. I don't think Lydia Grace is going to get Olivia to leave a happy, healthy marriage. No, Lydia Grace may talk to her, and that's what we see come next in the show. Lydia Grace ends up talking to her about her marriage, but if it was happy and healthy and they were doing well, Lydia Grace wouldn't be able to influence Olivia on anything at all. So I just think Ethan's perspective, I don't know. It's like He's treating Olivia like a child when he's saying that. And I don't know why. It just hit me the wrong way. You guys can let me know what you thought down in the comments. During this part of the show, we also see Olivia and Lydia Grace hanging out back home. The show sort of switches back and forth between the guys in the cigar lounge and Olivia and Lydia Grace back in the apartment. Ethan does seem to really like CJ. They seem to get along really well. Ethan tells CJ that he's happy that he got married young. He said Olivia started out as his first love, and it just goes into her being his best friend now. Now, back at home, they're talking about marriage, and things are a little bit different. Olivia says that she was sort of jealous of Lydia Grace getting to date with no strings attached, and jealous that she was getting to fully know herself before getting married. Olivia ends up sharing now that she won't rush into having kids. She wants to be sure exactly of who she is and what her marriage is like before she does that. The show switches back over to Ethan and CJ, and even though CJ has just shared that he was happy he got married young, he does say that Olivia has changed, and now they seem to be on the opposite sides of some fundamental stuff. He says their parenting style is very different, and one example is that he would still like his kids homeschooled, but Olivia seems to be wanting to send the kids to public school. So that's the example he gives. He just feels like they're growing apart with certain things. Back home at the apartment, Olivia Grace continue to talk about marriage and how people change. And it becomes really clear during this part of the conversation that Lydia Grace doesn't think Olivia and Ethan are a good match.
I don't know if they're super compatible, and I just don't know if they're good for each other. So I just want her to think about that.
It is true that there's a lot of conflict between Olivia and Ethan. It seems like there's, they have their moments where they're really good, and then it seems like there's a lot of times they're not doing so well. They separate, they spend time apart. I just don't know if they're a couple that's going to make it. I don't really know if it's the best thing for them. I do know there's a lot of people rooting for them to stay together. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. I think it's one of those things where Olivia is going to need to make that decision on her own so she doesn't have any regrets. So even though she's talking to her sister, I hope she makes the decision that she thinks is best for herself. And the same goes for Ethan. He shouldn't be in a marriage where he's not happy either. We'll just have to see what happens. That is it for this episode. Let me know what you guys thought about episodes 7 and 8 in the comments, and come back next week for more Welcome to Plathville.